قد أفلح المؤمنون.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. وصلى الله على محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. Respected Muslim brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Today we'll be covering the treaty between Imam Hassan al-Mujtaba alayhi salam and Muawiyah ibn Abi Sufyan. And as usual, we have a short introduction. The treaty between Imam Hassan and Muawiyah is a very contentious topic even among early historians. Early historians, when it comes to narrating the terms of this peace treaty, many of them do not include all of the terms. Many of them will leave some terms out because some of them there is disagreement upon. And in today's lecture, what we will be doing is we will be discussing the terms of the treaty. We'll be discussing some of the reasons why Imam al-Hassan chose to stand down and to allow Muawiyah to take authority. And with that being said, the events that we covered in the last video regarding the assassination attempt on Imam al-Hassan, the defection of Ubaydullah ibn Abbas, as well as just the general unrest that the areas under Imam al-Hassan's control were experiencing, should give you a good idea as to the precarious situation Imam al-Hassan found himself in. With that being said, let us go ahead and dive into it. After Muawiyah had basically fought Qais ibn Sa'ad's army, Qais ibn Sa'ad ibn Ubadah, radiyallahu ta'ala alayhi, which is where we left off last time, he decided to send two of his diplomats, Abdullah ibn Amr ibn Qurayz and Abdurrahman ibn Samura, as his envoys to Imam al-Hassan. So Ibn Amr implored al-Hassan, salamullahi alayhi, to spare the blood of the community of Muhammad. Muawiyah, he warned him, was obstinate, and therefore he warned al-Hassan to beware of obstinacy lest the people perish between the two of them. Basically, he's saying Muawiyah is not going to back down, and if you don't back down, if both of you clash, the damage dealt to the Muslim ummah, the bloodshed, the loss of life will be catastrophic. Muawiyah would appoint al-Hassan as his successor and give him what he wished. Abdurrahman ibn Samura spoke to him and said the same thing. So the assassination attempt on al-Hassan, salamullahi alayhi, the attempt on his life, the defection of one of his close commanders, along with clear indication that most of the chiefs of the Arabs were eager to betray him due to the bribes of Muawiyah, all painted a very grim picture. Al-Hassan alayhi salam had to choose between an all-out war, one that would either result in a Pyrrhic victory or a crushing defeat. In either case, the bloodshed would be inevitable and the loss of life would be catastrophic. I want to discuss this for a second, and we'll provide the source for what I just quoted later in a bit. With Imam al-Hassan, salamullahi alayhi, there is a view that a lot of people have. They're like, al-Hassan couldn't beat Muawiyah. Imam al-Hassan could not defeat Muawiyah if al-Hassan alayhi salam decided to go to war. He could not beat him. He would have lost. And I say this is not, we're not really sure if this is true. Because we know that Muawiyah, at the Battle of Siffin, the last time the Syrians and the Iraqis had went head-on, the Iraqis had almost prevailed. When it came to Imam al-Hassan's army, we would say that he definitely had thousands of loyal supporters. The issue is that even if Imam al-Hassan had won, who's to say that by the time this war was over, the Muslim empire would be able to survive? As in, Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen salamullahi alayhi had to deal with the Khawarij, and this caused a lot of division. It had caused a lot of enmity within the ummah. If Imam al-Hassan had fought Muawiyah, even if he had won, he would have had to kill so many people that by then the Muslim army, overall would not have been able to hold off its enemies, such as the Byzantines, the Romans, the Turks, the Daynomites, and all the other factions that were on the borders of the Islamic world. And we also see that even had al-Hassan managed to defeat Muawiyah, the loss of life would have been so much that many of the people of Asham, even if they would have accepted Imam al-Hassan's authority, his authority would have been very weak because most of these people would have now had enmity against him. In this situation, it's important to recognize that al-Hassan salamullahi alayhi, even if we argue that maybe he could have defeated Muawiyah, we would say that the victory would have been a Pyrrhic one. It would have weakened the Islamic State to such a degree that it was essentially not worth it. And this is the same wisdom that Amir al-Mu'mineen salamullahi alayhi used when it came to giving bay'ah to Abu Bakr. He recognized that even if Abu Bakr had taken his rightful place, If Ali Sanamullah alayhi would have been stubborn, if he had been emotional, if he would have said, no, it's mine, 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 I have to have it, I will not stand down, I will not look to the greater good, the results would have been catastrophic. And that's the thing about the Imams of the Ahlul Bayt. This is why they are the Imams of the Ummah, is they are always willing to put the well-being of the Ummah, the well-being of Islam itself, above their own personal well-being and their own personal ambitions. So Imam al-Hasan alayhi salam accepted the offer in principle, and he sent Amr ibn Salim al-Hamadni al-Arhabi and his own brother-in-law, Muhammad ibn al-Ash'ath al-Kindi, back to Muawiyah as his negotiators, together with the envoys of Muawiyah. Muawiyah then wrote a letter addressing him humbly to al-Hassan ibn Ali ibn Abi Talib from Muawiyah ibn Abi Sufyan. He stated that he was making peace with him on the basis that the reign would belong to al-Hassan after him. He swore solemnly by Allah and His Messenger Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam that he would not commit any wrong against or seek to harm him. He would give him 100,000 dirhams from the treasure annually, and the land tax of Fesa and Dar Abjad would belong to him. I'm sorry, it wasn't 100,000; it was 1 million. He would give him 1 million dirhams from the treasury annually every year, and the land tax of Fesa and Dar Abjad would belong to him. Fesa and Dar Abjad are two regions in Iran. I believe you can pull them up on a map today. They may have different names now. I'm sorry. Al-Hasan alayhi salam was to send his own tax agents to collect it and do with the two tax districts whatever he pleased. The letter was witnessed by the 4 envoys, and it was dated in the Rabi' II, Rabi' al-Thani, year 41, or in the Gregorian calendar, it would be August of the year 661 after AD. When al-Hasan read the letter, he commented, "He is trying to appeal to my greed for a matter which, if I desired, I would not surrender to him." He then sent Abdullah ibn al-Harith ibn Nawfal ibn al-Harith ibn Abd al-Muttalib, whose mother Hind was Muawiyah's sister, to Muawiyah, instructing him, "Go to your uncle and tell him, if you grant safety to the people, I shall pledge allegiance to you." Muawiyah now gave him a blank sheet with his seal at the bottom of it, inviting him to write on it whatever he wished. Al-Hasan wrote that he was making peace with Muawiyah, surrendering the reign over the Muslims to him on the basis that he acted accordance with the book of Allah, the sunnah of his prophet, and the conduct of the righteous caliphs. He stipulated that Muawiyah should not be entitled to appoint his successor, but that there should be an electoral shura. The people would be safe wherever they were, with respect to their person, their property, their offspring, and Muawiyah would not seek any wrong against Al-Hasan secretly or openly, and he would not intimidate any of his companions. The letter was witnessed by Abdullah ibn al-Harith and Amr ibn Salima and conveyed by them to Muawiyah with him to take cognizance of its content and to attest its acceptance. And this account can be found in Ansab al-Ashraf, volume 3, page 285 to page 287. And I also want to comment on this. When it comes to the terms of the treaty, such as following the conduct of the righteous caliphs and that there would be a shura, some historians have taken the view, and this is something I think is important to mention, some historians have taken the view that if you actually look at the different sources, the more reliable version of the treaty is the one that we mentioned first. And the reason why is because that al-Baladri, he says he copied this one version of the letter. Imam al-Hasan, salamullah alayh, following the exchange of letters between him and Muawiyah, they had both agreed to make peace. The terms of the treaty were that Imam al-Hasan would become Khalifa after Muawiyah, that he would get a certain amount of money, that the Shia of Amir al-Muminoon were to be given essentially amnesty, and that he would not harm anyone, he would not seek vengeance against any of the people of Iraq. Muawiyah accepted all these terms, and he had many of them, he had offered them himself, he had put them on the table. Muawiyah now moved with his army from Meskin to Kufa, where he first camped between al-Nukhayla and the storehouse for provisions. Al-Hasan and Qais ibn Sa'ad also returned with their men to al-Nukhayla. Before leaving al-Mada'in, Imam al-Hasan alayhi salam addressed his men with a sermon in which he quoted the Quran, "Perhaps you hate something, though Allah will put in it much good." And this is in Surah Al-Nisa, verse 19. Imam al-Hasan alayhi salam then marched, he moved his forces back to al-Kufa, and when he met Muawiyah in al-Kufa, he and Amr ibn Salim al-Hamadani, it is said they pledged allegiance in public. Muawiyah demanded that al-Hasan get up and apologize. At first al-Hasan declined, but Muawiyah insisted. So Imam al-Hasan alayhi salam stood up, praised Allah, and he said, "Indeed, the most clever of cleverness is piety, and the most foolish of foolishness is wickedness. O people, if you were to seek a man between Jaballaq and Jabars, whose grandfather is the messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you would not find anyone but me and my brother al-Hussein. Allah has guided you through us, the first among us being Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Muawiyah disputed with me a right that was mine, so I left it for the benefit of the nation and to save its blood. You pledged allegiance to me on the condition of making peace, and I have made peace. I have seen that preserving lives is better than spilling blood. I aimed for your well-being and made what I did a proof for those who would desire such a matter. I do not know, but it may be a trial for you and enjoyment for a while. And this is a ayah of the Quran, Surah Al-Anbiya, verse 111. It says, وَإِنْ أَدْرِي لَعَلَّهُ فِتْنَةٌ لَكُمْ وَمَتَاعٌ إِلَى حِينٍ. And some versions of the report say that when Imam Hassan said this, he looked directly at Muawiyah. He says, this is a fitna for you, and you will enjoy it for a while. Then it is said that Imam Hassan fell silent, and then the people dispersed. This report, this khutbah of Imam Hassan is very well corroborated. It is found in al-Baladri's book, in Ansab al-Ashraf, Volume 3, page 287 to 288. It's found in Tarikh al-Tabari, the English translation, Volume 18, page 8 and 9. Alternative wordings also come by way of Mujalid from al-Sha'bi, and his report can be found in the books of hadith, such as Musannaf ibn Abi Layla, the Ash-Shutri print, volume 21, page 287, hadith 40,155, as well as Al-Mustadrak al-Sahihain, volume 3, page 192-193, hadith 4,813, and As-Sunan al-Kubra by al-Bayhaqi, as well as Hilyat al-Awliya by Abu Nu'aym al-Asbahani, volume 2, page 37, Al-Mu'jam al-Kabir by al-Tabarani, volume 3, page 12 to 13, hadith 2,559, and this hadith was graded by Hassan by al-Haythami in Majma' al-Zawaid, volume 4, page 269, hadith 7,074, due to the difference of opinion on Mujalid, who narrates it from al-Sha'bi. This report is very interesting because Imam al-Hassan salamullah alayhi is making it clear that he only made peace because he wished to prevent bloodshed. And he says this very important line. He says, Muawiyah disputed with me a right that was mine, so I left it for the benefit of the nation and to save its blood. So Imam al-Hassan is saying that this bay'ah of his with Muawiyah is not one basically where I agree that you are the Khalifa and that I will be loyal to you. The agreement that Imam al-Hassan is making with Muawiyah is simply to end hostilities. He does not accept that Muawiyah is the rightful Khalifa. He believes he is the rightful Khalifa, but simply for the sake of making peace, he chose to sparing the Muslim blood and to spare them the violence and the bloodshed that Muawiyah was willing to inflict on them as the reason why Imam al-Hassan alayhi salam made peace. And this is highlighted by what Abu al-Faraj al-Isfahani reports in his book, in Maqatil al-Talibiyin. Maqatil al-Talibiyin, page 80, he quotes a very important saying of Imam al-Hassan salamullah alayhi. It is said that al-Hassan alayhi salam said during his sermon, indeed, the Khalifa is the one who follows the book of Allah and the sunnah of his prophet. And we know that Muawiyah did not follow either. The Khalifa is not the one who walks in injustice. Such is the possession of a king who enjoys it for a little while, and then its pleasure is cut off, but its aftermath remains. And I know not, but it may be a trial for you and a provision of worldly livelihood until a time, which is the same ayah that we've quoted before. So Imam al-Hassan is saying that I do not acknowledge Muawiyah as a Khalifa. Muawiyah is simply a king. A Khalifa is one who follows the Quran and the Sunnah. If he rules through injustice, then he's just a king. And there have been kings in the past, and there will continue to be kings. And, in the Quran, Allah gives mulk to whoever He wills. To quote a famous hadith from Aisha, when she was asked about Muawiyah, she says, don't be surprised about Muawiyah. Allah gave power to al-Fir'aun for hundreds of years. And Fir'aun was a kafir as well. When Muawiyah took the oath of allegiance from the people of Kufa and began his sermon, he mentioned Ali salamullah alayhi and criticized him and his sons al-Hassan wal-Hussein. Hearing this, al-Hussein stood up to respond. But Imam al-Hassan alayhi salam held him back and calmed him. Then he himself arose and spoke. He said, O you who mention Ali, I am al-Hassan and Ali was my father. You are Muawiyah and your father was Sakhr. My mother was Fatima and your mother was Hind. My grandfather was the apostle of Allah and your grandfather was Harb. My grandmother was Khadija and your grandmother was Futayla. May Allah curse him who tries to reduce our reputation and to diminish our nobility, who does evil against our antiquity and yet who has been ahead of us in unbelief and hypocrisy. So Imam al-Hassan salamullah alayhi, he said this this is recorded in Maqatil al-Talibin, page 78, is reported that when Imam al-Hassan said this, the people in the mosque shouted out, Ameen, Ameen. And I believe Abu al-Faraj also quotes that Yahya ibn Ma'in, when he heard this hadith, he said, and we also say Ameen. And Abu al-Faraj comments, and we also say Ameen. And me, as well as the brothers and sisters who are listening to this, hopefully we also say Ameen. And so not long after his abdication, Imam al-Hassan and his household made preparations to leave Iraq for Medina. This is a question that's often asked, like, why did Imam al-Hassan, salamullah alayhi, why did he leave Iraq? Why did he not choose to remain in al-Kufa? Is it because Imam al-Hassan hated al-Kufa? Is it because he had some enmity against the Kufans? So we say these are reports that the Nawasib, you often find the likes of a Sha'bi and the other Nawasib, they will quote them. They will try to show you that the Ahlul Bayt hated Iraq, or that al-Hassan said to the Iraqis, I'm happy to be rid of you. I'm very happy to be rid of you because you are horrible people. And this is simply not true, because we know that from the authentic ahadith of the Ahlul Bayt, that the Ahlul Bayt loved al-Kufa and they loved its people. However, the majority of the Ammah of Ahlul Kufa left a lot to be desired. So al-Madaini reported that when Imam al-Hassan alayhi salam intended to leave al-Kufa, one of his in-laws, al-Musayyib ibn Najib al-Fazari and Dhibyan ibn Umar al-Taymi, tried to convince him to stay, but he declined. He reached an area outside of al-Kufa called Dar Hind, and he turned to al-Kufa and recited the following lines of poetry. I have not left the dwelling of my people. They are the ones who guard my possessions and my honor. And then he set out for al-Madinah al-Munawwara. This is reported in al-Madaini's report. Obviously, his original book is lost, but it was quoted by Ibn Abi al-Hadid in Sharh Nahj al-Balagha, volume 16, page 16 to 17. The poem that the Imam recites makes it very clear that he's not happy to leave al-Kufa. He's not leaving al-Kufa because he wants to, but rather because we have to. He says, وَلَا عَنْ قِلَى فَارَقْتُ دَارْ مَعَاشِرِ هُمُ الْمَانِعُونَ حَوْزَتِي وَذِمَارِ. So it's like, it's not out of hatred or spite that I have left al-Kufa, for these people are beloved to me. This was like a home to me. Not long after Imam al-Hassan abdicated the Khilafah, the Khawarij in Iraq rose up against Muawiyah. And so Muawiyah sent a letter to Imam al-Hassan ordering him to return and fight the Khawarij. And the leader of the Khawarij was a man named Abu al-Haws al-Ta'i. Imam al-Hassan alayhi salam at this point had reached al-Qadisiyah, which I believe in modern Iraq, this area is called al-Diwaniyah. He wrote a letter back to Muawiyah saying, I have abandoned the fight against you, even though it was my legal right for the peace and reconciliation of the community. Do you think I shall fight together with you? This letter of Imam al-Hassan is quoted by al-Baladri in his Ansab al-Ashraf in volume 3, page 289. It's in Sharh Nahj al-Balagha by Ibn Abi al-Hadid, volume 16, page 14. It is also in Al-Kamil fi al-Tarikh by Ali ibn al-Athir in volume 3, page 9. So Imam al-Hassan is basically telling Muawiyah, is like, listen, I'm not going to fight your battles for you. Between you and the Khawarij, you are the one who most deserves to be fought. If I was going to fight anyone, it would have been you. The only reason I stopped fighting you is not because I believe you're a Khalifa, not because I believe you're a righteous ruler, not because I believe you deserve leadership, but for the sake of minimizing the bloodshed. With that, Imam al-Hassan alayhi salam continued his journey, and he returned back to al-Madinah. So now I want to go over the story of one of Imam al-Hassan's salamullah alayhi, one of his most noble and most famous companions. And in going over the biography of this companion, we will learn some of the reasons why Imam al-Hassan alayhi salam made peace with Muawiyah. When Imam al-Hassan made peace with Muawiyah, there are some men that people addressed him with these horrible names, these horrible epithets, and they mocked him and they demeaned him for his decision. Some men in al-Qadisiyah called him, "Oh, he who disgraced the Arab, Ya Mudhill al-Arab." So Imam al-Hassan alayhi salam said to them this beautiful response, "Indeed, I did not disgrace the believers, but I disliked to kill them in pursuit of power." And this report is found in Tarikh al-Tabari, volume 10, page 11 and 12. I believe this isn't volume 10, I'm sorry, this is volume 17. My apologies. It's also found in al-Mustadrak al-Sahihain, volume 3, page 192, hadith 4812, in al-Isti'ab by Ibn Abd al-Barr, page 181, as well as Musannaf ibn Abi Shaybah, volume 21, page 279 to 280, hadith 40,140. Imam al-Hassan salamullah alayhi in Arabic, when they called him Ya Mudhill al-Arab, right, he said to them, or Ya Mudhill al-Mu'mineen faqal, لا تقل فإني لم أذل المؤمنين ولكن كرهت أن أقتلهم في طلب الملك, which is a staunch parallel, a huge parallel between him and Muawiyah. Muawiyah was willing to kill as many people as he had to in order to take power, to take mulk. Imam al-Hassan alayhi salam said, I did not disgrace the Arab, nor did I disgrace the believers, but I disliked to kill them in the pursuit of power. Others said to him, called him something else. They said to him, Ya al-Muminoon, wal-'iyadhu billah. They said, the one who brought shame to the faithful, Ya al-Muminoon. Imam al-Hassan al-Mujtaba salamullah alayhi responded to them, shame is preferable to hellfire. So this is also in al-Isti'ab, page 181. And in Arabic, al-'ar afdal min al-nar. Correct? Or al-'ar khayr min al-nar. It's like, if you think I've disgraced them, I'd rather disgrace them than take them to hellfire. And some said to him, so he said some of them called him the one who disgraced the Arab, the one who brought shame to the faithful. Others said to him, he who disgraced the faithful. Or others, or a different wording, he who dishonored or blackened the faces of the faithful. So Imam al-Hassan salamullah alayhi, and the first one is found in al-Mustadrak, volume 3, page 192, hadith 4811, is found also in al-Mustadrak al-Sahihain, volume 3, page 186 to 187, hadith 4796. Imam al-Hassan salamullah alayhi, when people addressed him like this, say, he who disgraced the faithful, Imam al-Hassan alayhi salam, there is a report that says he responded in the following way. He said to them, do not scold me, may Allah have mercy upon you. For indeed the Prophet had a dream in which he saw Bani Umayyah upon his pulpit. That distressed him. So the following was revealed. Verily we have granted you al-Kawthar, O Muhammad, meaning a river in paradise. And the following was revealed. Verily we have sent it down on the night of al-Qadr. And what will make you know what the night of al-Qadr is? The night of al-Qadr is better than 1,000 months in which Bani Umayyah rules after you, O Muhammad. This report that we have quoted on the authority of Imam al-Hassan, where he essentially does tafsir of Surah al-Qadr, which he narrates from his grandfather Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, is very, very important. It is very important, and it is very, very dangerous, because the Mukhalifeen have desperately tried to weaken this. In al-Mustadrak al-Sahihain, al-Dhahabi could not find any way to weaken it. So he said, وَمَا أَدْرِي آفَتُهُ مِنْ أَيْنٍ, or وَمَا أَدْرِي آفَةَ مِنْ أَيْنٍ. On top of that, this report is also found in Al-Mu'jam al-Kabir by al-Tabarani, volume 3, page 92, hadith 2754. And even the Muhaqqaq of al-Tabarani could not weaken it. On the contrary, he listed multiple other sources for it. It is also in Jami' at-Tirmidhi, hadith 3350, as well as Tafsir al-Tabari, volume 24, page 546 to 547. Ibn Kathir argued in his Tafsir ibn Kathir, he argued, he said, this chain of transmission is good. The chain of transmission is good, but the content is munkar. And the reason why he says the content of munkar, he tries to argue that the tafsir doesn't quite add up, it doesn't make sense with what the ayah is saying, which is nonsense. Can't use your own personal opinion when it comes to rejecting an authentic athar. But there is something else that he notes. He says that the rule of Banu Umayyah was longer than 1,000 months. This is his best argument. He says the hadith is munkar because the rule of Bani Umayyah is longer than 1,000 months. So in response to Ibn Kathir, I say this is not part of the hadith. Bani Umayyah ruling for at least 1,000 months makes sense. It doesn't have to be 1,000 months or more. It doesn't have to be 1,000 months exactly. Laylatul Qadr is better than 1,000 months. Laylatul Qadr is more valuable than the reign of Bani Umayyah, even if they rule for more than that. And the reason why I say this is because this is not part of the original hadith. It is the ta'wil of al-Qasim. Because at the end of the hadith, in a Tirmidhi, al-Qasim says, so we counted them and found that they were 1,000 months, not a day more or less. So you can't reject an authentic athar because someone ta'wiled it wrong. This is one of the reasons that Imam al-Hassan gave for the peace treaty. We see the other reasons that he gave, such as the preserving of Muslim blood and preventing bloodshed. But Imam al-Hassan also gives another reason. He says he knew that Bani Umayyah's rule was inevitable, that their rule was inevitable. It was not something that could be changed. And so Imam al-Hassan salamullah alayhi was minimizing the damage to the best of his ability. A man by the name of Malik ibn Dhamra came to al-Hassan ibn Ali and said to him, peace upon you, O one who blackened the faces of the believers. Imam al-Hassan alayhi salam replied, O Malik, do not say that. When I saw that people abandoned this practice except for our people, I feared that they would be rooted out from the face of the earth. So I wanted religion to remain alive on earth. So Malik ibn Dhamara said to him, by my father and my mother, you truly are the progeny of one another. تِلْكَ ذُرِّيَّةٌ بَعْضُهَا مِنْ بَعْضٍ. And this is recorded in Tarikh Dimashq, volume 13, page 279 to 280. And this is perfectly in line with Imam al-Hassan's personality. It's very difficult. People would insult him and mock him and criticize him. Imam al-Hassan cannot be bothered. He's a nobleman, and noblemen don't care what the Ammah of the people say. So they were mocking Imam al-Hassan, and that's what we discussed earlier. This is bravery. This is courage, just to do the right thing when the entire world is putting you down for it. Imam al-Hassan, salamullahi alayhi, knew what the right thing to do was. He knew what Allah wanted from him, and he performed his task. No one else, right? The Lawma of Ilal could not stop him from carrying out what he had to do, from carrying out his responsibility. One of the men who addressed Imam al-Hassan with this harsh language was a man by the name of Sufyan ibn Layla or Sufyan ibn Layla al-Hamadni. In different sources, it's given differently. But we know this is the same man. Al-Hassan salamullahi alayhi did not fault him, nor did he respond with anger. Imam al-Hassan salamullahi alayhi, rather, look at the way he speaks to Sufyan in these hadiths I'm about to show you. He urged Sufyan to have patience, and he explained his reasoning for his decision. And Sufyan would go from a man who disrespected Imam al-Hassan to being one of his most famous and beloved disciples. Sufyan ibn Layla, or Hassan ibn Abi Layla, himself narrates this incident. He says, I came to al-Hassan ibn Ali when he pledged allegiance to Muawiyah in Medina. I found him in the courtyard of his house with a group of the believers. And I greeted him, and I said to him, peace be upon you, O humiliator of the believers. Imam al-Hassan said to him, peace be upon you, Sufyan, descend. I dismounted, and then I approached him and sat down. And he asked me, what did you say, O Sufyan? I responded, peace be upon you, O humiliator of the believers. He asked me, why have you come here? He said, by God, you have humiliated us by pledging allegiance to this tyrant and submitting to this accursed son of the accursed, whose belly is insatiable, and you have brought together 100,000, all of whom will die except you. Allah has indeed given you the command. So you can see from this report, Sufyan was very frustrated, he was very angry, but Imam al-Hassan did not respond to him with anger. He rather replied to him, O Sufyan, we, the Ahlul Bayt, when we know the truth, we stick to it. I heard Ali alayhi salam say, I heard Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa say that the nights and the days will not come to an end until the affairs of this ummah, or the affair of this ummah, becomes united under a man with a large forehead, a wide neck, who eats but is never satisfied, who Allah will not look at, nor will he make him, nor will he have any excuse in the heavens or the earth. That man is Muawiyah, and I know that Allah will grant him what he wants. Imam al-Hassan is telling Sufyan, he says that, my father narrated to me from Rasulullah that Muawiyah's reign is inevitable. Then the adhan was announced, and we stood up. We went to the mosque, and he asked me, so presumably on the way there, what brought you here, O Sufyan? So I said, Ay Sufyan, my love for you by the one who sent Muhammad with guidance and true religion. So Imam al-Hassan replied, rejoice, O Sufyan, for I heard Ali say, I heard Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam say, the members of my family and those who love him will be the first to meet me at the pond, or they will meet me like these two. And he held up his two index finger. And if you want, you can say these two, meaning the index finger and the middle finger. One is more excellent than the other. Rejoice, O Sufyan, for the world will carry both the righteous and the wicked until Allah will raise the Imam of truth from the progeny of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And this report is narrated with multiple chains of transmission by Abu al-Faraj al-Isfahani in Maqat al-Talibiyin, page 75 and 76. And it is also reported, the two hadiths that Sufyan reported. If you go to the bio of Sufyan ibn Abi Layla or Sufyan ibn Layl, you will find that these reports regarding Muawiyah, the prophecy of the Prophet regarding Muawiyah, is also narrated in the books of the Mukhalifin. And the reports regarding the people who will meet with Rasulullah at the Hawd, or the Ahlul Bayt, and the people who love him, is also found in the books of the Mukhalifin, but they include it among the da'if or the mawdu' narrations. And that is for obvious reasons. Shaykhun al-Mufid, reported the same report. Abu al-Faraj reported it on the authority of Sufyan, In Maqatil al-Talibiyin, Shaykhuna al-Mufid rahimahullah reported it on the authority of Muhammad ibn Ali al-Baqir in Kitab al-Ikhtisas, page 88. And al-Kashi reported it in Kitab Ikhtiyar Ma'rifat al-Rijal, volume 1, page 328 to 329. I believe this is bio 178. So we see that this hadith about Sufyan, this conversation that he had with Imam al-Hassan salamullah alayh is very, very well attested. And Imam al-Hassan salamullah alayh is explaining his reasoning to his Shia. And this is something really important, is that sometimes the Imams make decisions that their Shia, do not understand. And what that means is that we should remain patient. We should have faith in the Imam. Because as Imam al-Hassan said, when the Ahlul Bayt recognize the right thing to do, they will stick to it. We saw that Imam al-Hassan made his decision to prevent bloodshed. He knew that the rule of Bani Umayyah was inevitable. He said to Malik ibn Dhamara, I did it to make sure that there would remain people on the face of this earth who would practice Islam. As for Sufyan ibn Abi Layla, or Sufyan ibn Abi Layla, or Sufyan ibn Layl, and again I apologize because the different reports give him, sometimes his name is given differently. Shaykh al-Mufid reports something very interesting about him. This is something very beautiful. Imamuna Musa ibn Ja'far salamullah alayh is reported to have said, on the day of judgment, a caller will call out, where is the disciple of al-Hassan ibn Ali salamullah alayh, the son of Fatima bint Rasulullah salamullah alayh. And so Sufyan ibn Abi Layla al-Hamadni and Hudhayfa ibn Usayd al-Ghafari will come forward. So a lot of people ask, like, who are the companions of Imam al-Hassan? This man, Sufyan ibn Abi Layla, who spoke so disrespectfully to Imam al-Hassan, but the way Imam al-Hassan calmed him and reassured him and explained to him, correct? Sufyan would go on to be one of the most loyal and beloved disciples of Imam al-Hassan salamullah alayh, to the point that on Yawm al-Qiyamah he will be singled out for this, as being one of two people who are the loyal disciples of Sayyidina Imam al-Hassan al-Mujtaba salamullah alayh. And this report is also found in al-Ikhtisas by Shaykhuna al-Mufid rahimahullah on page 68 to 69. And it is also found in Ikhtiyar Ma'rifat al-Rijal. And unfortunately, the version of the book which we usually cite, for some reason it was missing the pages that have this report. So we had to quote it from another version of Ikhtiyar Ma'rifat al-Rijal. And we beg your forgiveness for this. There are some other reasons that are listed for the treaty that Imam al-Hassan made with Muawiyah. And these come from the reports of the Ahlul Bayt alayhim as-salam. So we've seen a few of them. Imam al-Hassan himself explains them. There's a few more that we want to go over, inshallah. And then we will bring this event to a close. Shaykh al-Saduq reported back to Abu Sa'id, to a man by the name of Abu Sa'id. He says, I said to al-Hassan ibn Ali alayhi salam, the son of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi, Yabna Rasulullah, why did you make peace with Muawiyah and agree with him, even though I know that the truth is with you and that Muawiyah is a deviant transgressor? He said, O Abu Sa'id, are you not aware that I am the proof of Allah, the exalted, upon his creatures, and I am an imam over them, as my father Ali salamullah alayhi said? I said, yes. He said, are you not the one am I not the one about whom the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, my two grandsons al-Hassan wal-Hussein are imams, whether they stand or sit down, or whether they are rising or sitting? I said, yes. He said, so I am an imam. If I rise, I do so as an imam, and if I make peace, I do so as an imam. O Abu Sa'id, do you not know that my reconciliation with Muawiyah is like the reconciliation of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam with Banu Zimra and Banu Ashja and the people of Mecca at Hudaybiyah? Those people were disbelievers in the revelation, and Muawiyah and his followers are disbelievers in the interpretation of the Quran. O Abu Sa'id, if I act as an imam appointed by Allah Jalla wa Ala and referred to in his saying, and we made from among them imams who guide by our command when they were patient and believed in our signs, then is it not incumbent upon me to consider your opinion? Then it is not incumbent upon me to consider your opinion about my approach, whether it is one of reconciliation or confrontation. However, if there is a point of wisdom in my reconciliation with Muawiyah, then it is possible. Can you not see that when al-Khidr alayhi salam made a hole in the boat, killed the child, and erected the wall which was about to collapse, this was done as a result of his uncertainty about the point of wisdom involved in the acts he was commanded to perform? This was the case until Allah informed him that what he had done was appropriate. Similarly, I acted in this manner due to the ambiguity in the point of wisdom in this issue. And if it were not for the course of action I have taken, none of our Shia on earth would have survived. They would all have been killed. And this report is found in Kitab al-Shara'i, volume 2, page 14. And there's another report on the page 14 to 16. There's another report that we will quote as well, and then I will show you the source. Shaykh al-Saduq also reports with a chain of transmission back to Sudayr, who says, Abu Ja'far said to me, and with us was my son. He said, O Sudayr, mention to us your belief with which you are upon. If there is drowning in it, I will restrain you, and if you are deficient, I will guide you. So Imam al-Baqir is telling him, like, explain your aqeedah to me. I want to make sure that your aqeedah is correct. So he says, Sudayr, who reports this incident, he says, I went on to speak. So Abu Ja'far alayhi salam said, hold on until I suffice you. Know that the knowledge that the Messenger of Allah handed over to Ali, whoever recognizes it is a believer, and whoever denies it is a disbeliever. Then after him came al-Hassan salamullahi alayhi. Sudayr then asked, he says, I asked, how can he have such a status when he did what he did and handed authority over to Muawiyah? Imam al-Baqir salamullahi alayhi said to him, silence. He knew full well what he was doing, and had he not done that, it would have been a grievous matter, a calamity. And these reports are found in Ilal al-Shara'i, volume 2, page 14 to 16, hadith number 399 to 400. As in, Ilal al-Shara'i by Shaykh al-Saduq, rahimahullah, what he does is he explains the reasoning behind certain issues in Islamic law as well as Islamic history. And so one of them, he has a chapter regarding the peace treaty of Imam al-Hassan, and then he explains it in depth after citing these two ahadiths. So we see that the reasoning given here by Imam al-Hassan, as well as the other reasons that we cited in the previous hadiths, is that the Imam is an Imam whether he rises up or whether he makes peace. It does not negate his Imam. And the wisdom behind Imam al-Hassan's decision is similar to the wisdom of al-Khidr alayhi salam, which Musa alayhi salam could not comprehend. On top of that, Imam al-Baqir salamullahi alayhi makes it very clear that doubting the imamah of al-Hassan salamullahi alayhi, whoever doubts the imamah of al-Hassan because of his peace treaty with Muawiyah, this is unacceptable. His aqeedah is unacceptable. And we see that Imam al-Baqir became very upset with Sudayr. He said, silence. He knew what he was doing. The imam knows what he was doing. It is not in our position to criticize the imam or to question the imam. With that being said, we will bring this lecture to an end. We have covered the peace treaty of Imam al-Hassan salamullahi alayhi with Muawiyah, and in the next part, inshallah, we will go over Imam al-Hassan's retirement to Medina, as well as the role he fulfilled as a scholar, as an imam, after he returned to the blessed city of his grandfather. Please do make sure you like and subscribe. It really helps us and our content reach more of our fellow Shia brothers, and we hope that you will keep us in your dua.